Have you ever imagined what you'd do if fake FBI agents showed up at your doorstep and threatened to arrest you? Would you stay silent or fight back fiercely? This actually happened to me, right on my own ranch. But here's the twist. Those fake FBI agents weren't criminals. They were the very people I expected to keep the neighborhood safe. My own Homeowners Association. What they didn't realize was who they were messing with. I'm not just an ordinary ranch owner, I'm the Attorney General. So when they started using illegal tactics against me, how did I turn the tables in my favor? If you want to know how this story spiraled into a battle of injustice, deception, and power, stick around. This story will surprise you. You ever have one of those days where everything feels off? Like the universe decided to mess with you just for kicks? Well, mine started with a bang, literally. I was out on my ranch, minding my own business, when suddenly, these guys show up at my gate, dressed in suits, badges flashing, acting like the FBI, only they weren't. Fake FBI, fake badges, and their mission? To arrest me, on my own land. Now, if you're thinking, wait, why would anyone fake an FBI arrest? Trust me, I asked myself the same thing. Turns out, the culprits weren't who you'd expect. Not criminals, not federal agents, but my Homeowners Association. Yeah, the HOA, the same group that sent me nasty letters about lawn height and unauthorized paint colors. Who knew they'd go full CSI on me? The twist? They had no idea who they were messing with. You see, I'm not just the guy they want to intimidate. I'm the Attorney General, and that changes everything. But before I tell you how it all went down, how I flipped the script and turned the tables, you need to hear what led to that bizarre moment. Because what happened next was straight out of a thriller. So buckle up. This isn't just HOA drama, it's a story about power, deception, and a little poetic justice. My ranch is my sanctuary. Sprawling acres of open land, dusty trails, and the kind of peace you can't find anywhere else. But peace, it turns out, is a fragile thing. The trouble started with a simple letter from the HOA, the Homeowners Association. Nothing too alarming at first. A polite reminder about keeping my grass trimmed and a warning about some unapproved fence paint. I laughed it off. After all, it's my property, but the HOA has a way of making small annoyances feel like personal attacks. Then came the neighbor, Carol, the classic HOA Karen archetype. She was always lurking, with her sharp eyes and sharper tongue, ready to file complaints faster than you can say violation. One afternoon, I caught her sneaking around my property line taking pictures, like she was building a case against me. I confronted her calmly, asking what her problem was. She just smiled sweetly and said, "Just making sure we all follow the rules." Rules that somehow only seemed to apply to me. Tension simmered beneath the surface. Notices piled up, fines for unauthorized structures, threats of legal action for disturbing neighborhood aesthetics. Every interaction felt like a chess match, and I hadn't even made my move yet. Then came the real shocker. One morning, I found a strange, official-looking letter stuck on my door. It said the HOA was sending enforcement officers to inspect my property. Enforcement officers? I didn't know HOAs had their own police force. When they arrived, dressed in what looked like FBI suits with badges, I was stunned. They demanded to search my property and threatened arrest for non-compliance. I tried to stay calm, but inside I was boiling. Who gave these people any authority? It was clear this wasn't about rules anymore. This was personal. And that was just the beginning. Things only got crazier from there. The fake FBI visits weren't a one-time stunt. They came back, again and again, each time with more ridiculous demands and bolder threats. One day I woke up to find a big red notice slapped on my gate. Violation unauthorized surveillance cameras. Surveillance cameras? I hadn't even installed any. Turns out the HOA was accusing me of spying on neighbors, trying to turn the tables with outright lies. Then came the fines, hundreds of dollars, piling up for excessive noise, improper waste disposal, and even reckless driving on my own driveway. The absurdity was so thick, it was almost funny. But it wasn't just money. There were dirty tricks too. My mail got intercepted, packages vanished, and my water supply was mysteriously cut off for a day. Carol's grins got wider and her complaints grew nastier. Every interaction felt like I was living in a bad reality show. Despite all this, I had small victories. One time I caught one of the fake FBI guys sneaking around my barn late at night. I confronted him, recorded the whole thing, and exposed their stunt to the HOA board. They tried to cover it up, but some neighbors started asking questions. I was gaining ground, but the pressure was relentless. Anxiety, anger, and disbelief mixed together as I plotted my next move. They thought they could scare me off, but they didn't know who they were dealing with. The stage was set for a showdown, and I wasn't backing down. After weeks of harassment, I knew subtlety wouldn't work anymore. It was time to flip the script. My plan was simple but bold: expose the HOA's overreach and illegal tactics in a way they couldn't ignore. First, I gathered every piece of evidence: videos of the fake FBI copies of bogus fines and witness statements from neighbors who were quietly sympathetic but afraid to speak up. Then I quietly filed a formal complaint with the state authorities and started documenting everything meticulously. Next, I staged a peaceful but powerful visual statement on my ranch, installed signs that read, "Choa not the law and fake FBI, try real justice." I even changed the locks on my main gate, not to keep people out, but to signal that I was taking control. Meanwhile, I reached out to the local press, hinting at a story about corruption hiding behind suburban calm. The cracks in the HOA's armor started to show. Board members who once ignored me suddenly grew defensive. Neighbors who had stayed silent began asking questions, and the fake FBI visits stopped cold. I watched it all unfold with a quiet confidence, knowing I'd played this perfectly. They thought they could intimidate me into submission, but instead, they'd painted a target on themselves. The calm before the storm was over. Justice was coming, and it was going to be poetic. The day of reckoning finally arrived. The HOA board scheduled a meeting at the community hall, expecting me to either back down or face some kind of forced eviction. But instead of cowering, I walked in with every piece of evidence in hand, ready to dismantle their little empire. As I laid out the videos, documents, and eyewitness accounts, the room grew tense. Faces shifted from smug confidence to nervous sweat. The fake FBI ringleader, who had been so cocky during his visits, sat silent, caught like a deer in headlights. I calmly detailed their illegal impersonations, harassment, and sabotage. Then, with a slow, deliberate tone, I reminded everyone present that impersonating a federal agent is a serious crime, punishable by law. The local authorities had been notified and were already investigating. Neighbors who had once feared retaliation now nodded in agreement, some even applauding. The HOA president's mask of control crumbled, replaced by stammering excuses and desperate attempts to regain authority. In that moment, justice wasn't just a word, it was a spectacle. I ended with a simple but powerful line. "You tried to silence me. Instead, you made me louder." The fallout was swift. Fake FBI members vanished, fines were rescinded, and the HOA board was forced to overhaul their policies. My ranch was peaceful again, but the message was clear. Don't underestimate the person standing on their own ground. Looking back, this whole ordeal taught me something important. Sometimes the people who claim to protect you can be the very ones trying to control you. The HOA wasn't just enforcing rules. They were wielding power like a weapon, using fear and deception to bully their way. But standing firm, knowing your rights, and having the courage to fight back, that's the real power. So here's a little something to remember. Never let anyone make you feel small on your own land. And if they try, well, maybe it's time to remind them who's really in charge. What would you have done if fake FBI agents showed up at your door? Comment "justice served" if you stuck with me till the end. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a good comeback, and subscribe for more wild tales of truth and justice. Because sometimes, life writes the best scripts. You just have to be ready to play your part. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the end, justice isn't served cold. It's served with a little style.